If anyone ever writes a book called How to Lose Your Job, Apartment, and Sanity in 3 Days, I'm definitely entitled to royalties. My name is Caleb Foster, 27, junior analyst at the financial giant Thornbridge & Co., where even smiles feel like part of the corporate dress code. My work consists of spreadsheets, reports, charts, and, of course, fear. Fear of making a mistake, fear of putting the wrong comma in a formula, saying the wrong word to my boss, or wearing the wrong tie to Monday's meeting. My life is a perfectly structured yet incredibly fragile coordinate system. And then he showed up. Piglet. A mini pig. Although, to be honest, the word mini feels more like a joke. My sister Amy, right before flying off to Iceland, left a carrier in front of my apartment door. "It's just for a few months, Caleb," she said over the phone. "He behaves exactly like a cat." Then she hung up. 5 minutes later, I learned 3 things. He sleeps on keyboards. He jumps onto cabinets but doesn't always land on them. His version of a meow is a deep grunt that sounds somewhere between a tractor and an angry hippo. My landlord, Mrs. Collins, believes that order is sacred. She shows up without warning, sniffs the air like a detective, and can apparently hear the rustle of an illegal cat tail through concrete walls. That morning, I was getting ready for the quarterly report presentation. Suit ironed, hair perfectly in place, every number double-checked. And then, knock, knock, knock. "Mr. Foster, it's Mrs. Collins. Routine inspection." At that exact moment, Piglet was sitting on the couch, proudly eyeing my laptop like a predator stalking its prey. I reacted on pure instinct, grabbed him under my arm and stuffed him into the closet. "Everything's fine," I called out, nervously straightening my collar. "Just a second." Mrs. Collins entered with her notepad and that gaze, the kind that could clean a wall stain without detergent. "Do you live alone, Mr. Foster?" she asked, scanning the room like an FBI agent. "Absolutely, alone. Just me. No oink." Her eyes narrowed. "What was that?" Cold sweat trickled down my back. "That was, the fridge. Yeah, old thing hums like a tractor," I muttered. She stepped closer to the closet. So did I. Our hands reached for the handle at the same time. "Oink, oink, snort." "A mouse?" she gasped. "Yes, exactly, a big one. I can even show you." And then the closet door burst open. Piglet must have decided that this was the mouse in question. He leapt out, latched on to Mrs. Collins' pant leg and started grunting, trembling with pure, ecstatic enthusiasm. "What is that? What is that?" Mrs. Collins screamed. It's a cat," I blurted out, clutching the creature. "A very rare breed, hairless and, slightly snorty." Mrs. Collins stared at me like I'd just confessed to smuggling porcupines across state lines. "If I find out that's a pig, Mr. Foster, you're out. Evicted." When the door finally slammed shut, I collapsed onto the floor, Piglet in my arms. He purred, or, well, oinked, his whole body vibrating like a tiny pink engine. "You little saboteur! You're going to ruin my career!" Piglet looked up at me with those shiny, unnervingly intelligent eyes and nodded. I swear, he actually nodded. And at that moment, I had no idea that he really would destroy my old life just to make it finally feel alive. The next morning was supposed to be perfect. I woke up at 6, did a few half-hearted squats, drank my coffee, polished my shoes until I could see my anxiety reflected in them, because today was the day. The big video conference with investors from London. If it went well, I'd finally get that promotion. If not, I'd be back where I started. The data cleaning department, surrounded by spreadsheets and other people's coffee stains. Meanwhile, Piglet was licking my laptop. Yes, licking it. That's not food, I explained. That's my career. He oinked in a tone that very clearly meant, so basically the same thing? I sat him down in the corner and handed him a toy laser. Well, actually, an old university pointer I'd found in a drawer. For a glorious moment, I thought I had everything under control. Then, the head of the conference, Mr. Handley, said, "Mr. Foster, you're up next. Your market dynamics analysis, please?" I turned on my camera. For the first few seconds, everything went flawlessly. I was speaking confidently, almost like a grown man who actually understands how bonds work. And then I saw the look. Piglet was glaring at me, offended. Apparently, I'd been sitting still for far too long, which of course violated his internal feline code of conduct. He crept closer, silent, calculated, predatory. Then he jumped. Bam! The camera shook violently. On screen, not me, not the charts, not the graphs, just a giant pink snout in full HD. "What the? Is that a pig?" someone shouted. Mr. Handley, naturally. "No, it's a filter," I stammered. "A new zoom filter for object focus." Piglet, clearly delighted by the attention, started rubbing his side against the screen. My British colleagues were looking like they were watching a horror thriller set in a financial department. I tried to move him aside, but Piglet apparently thought we were playing a game. He kicked at my coffee cup, and it launched perfectly onto the printed financial reports, splashing across the quarterly projections. My monitor fizzed. The papers turned a beautiful shade of espresso despair. It looked less like a business meeting and more like a modern art installation titled Expressionism in Panic. "Mr. Foster, are you quite all right?" asked Mr. Handley, clearly suspecting I was mid-breakdown. "Yes, absolutely. Just a system update." At that exact moment, Piglet sat squarely on the keyboard and accidentally hit enter. My presentation, which was supposed to end with a clean, professional financial forecast, suddenly switched to a slide titled Piglet's Playlist, Songs for Smart Pigs. This is part of a metaphor about innovation. The market is like Piglet, unpredictable yet charming. No one laughed, not even me. After the meeting, my boss sent a short message. "Caleb, we'll talk tomorrow, and please leave your, animal at home." I just sat there staring at Piglet, who was softly purring, well, oinking, next to the monitor. "Thanks, buddy. If I get fired tomorrow, at least it won't be for a typo in Excel." He oinked in full agreement. After the conference incident, I was officially blacklisted by the corporate department. They temporarily relocated my office, which in reality meant a windowless storage room that smelled like burnt paper and despair. And just when I thought my professional life had hit rock bottom, someone walked into it. Someone who would make me realize that cleanliness isn't always a virtue. And maybe, just maybe, chaos can smell a bit like love. Her name was Amelia. She appeared in the office parking lot at the exact moment Piglet broke free from his carrier and charged after a pigeon, apparently one that had looked at him the wrong way. Amelia helped me chase down my mini cat, which of course turned out to be a pig. She laughed so sincerely that, for the first time in months, I stopped thinking about my mortgage. That very evening I asked her to dinner. "Just a heads up," I warned. "I'm insanely tidy. Everything has to be spotless. No fur, no dust, no chaos." "Perfect," she smiled. "I love cleanliness." Dinner prep went by the book. Pasta, candles, soft jazz, everything straight out of a romantic comedy manual. Piglet sat sulking in his cardboard box, clearly jealous. Amelia arrived in a bright dress, holding a bottle of wine. "You have such a cozy place," she said, settling into her chair. "Yeah, I'm a bit of a neat freak." That's when a deep, rumbling sound came from the box, a low, resonant "hernk," like a motorcycle trying to start. "What was that?" asked Amelia, raising an eyebrow. "The fridge," I said automatically. She nodded, a hint of amusement in her eyes. But a minute later, the box flaps swung open and out strutted Piglet. Something dark dangled from his mouth. "Is that—" I began, but the words died in my throat. Piglet proudly dropped his gift at Amelia's feet. It was the remains of a banana peel from the trash can. Amelia looked from me to Piglet and back again. Piglet stood proudly in the middle of the room, like a cat presenting its latest hunting trophy. And then she laughed, loudly, freely, the kind of laughter that fills a room and makes you forget why you were ever nervous. Even Piglet snorted in surprise, his oinks syncing perfectly with her giggles. "Caleb," she said between laughs, "I think your cat just accepted me." "It's a pig," I confessed, defeated. "My illegal pig cat." We laughed until our eyes watered. And somewhere between the laughter and the wine, I realized something. I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of mess, not of the future, not even of losing my job. The next week, I was officially fired. My boss called it a lack of corporate compatibility with animal elements. 2 days later, I got a call from a small production company. "Are you the guy from the video, the one where the pig hijacks the Zoom call? It went viral. We want you on our team. You've got talent." Now I work as a writer for an animal blog called Paws and Snouts. I write stories about people and the creatures who make them human again. Every morning, I brew my coffee, watch Piglet chase sunbeams across the wall, and think about how he taught me the most important thing of all. You don't always have to control life. Sometimes you just have to live it. Piglet waddles over, rests his snout on my knee, and lets out his familiar rumbling oink. And I tell him softly, "Yeah, buddy, sometimes chaos is just another form of love."